गुड मॉर्निंग स्टूडेंट्स। आपको सारे नोट्स, वीडियोस, बुक्स वगैरह मिल गई होंगी। बेसिकली थोड़ा सा मेरे बारे में बताता हूँ। मेरा नाम पुनीत है। एमबीए का क्लासेस लेता हूँ। 2006 से पढ़ा रहा हूँ। 20 इयर्स का मेरे को एक्सपीरियंस है। वीजू, पूर्णिमा, जेईसीआरसी, आर्या, आईएलएम, आईआरएम, आईपीएस बिजनेस स्कूल सब में मैं जा रहा हूँ और एज अ गेस्ट फैकल्टी पढ़ा रहा हूँ। और इवनिंग में मेरा क्लासेस चलता है, ऑनलाइन ऑफलाइन रिकॉर्डेड, तीनों मोड पे क्लासेस चलता है। उसके अलावा एक टॉप कॉलेज है एमबीए का, आईएम अहमदाबाद, वहां मैं बच्चों को हर साल लेके जाता हूँ। मुंबई में एआई यूनिवर्सल, यहाँ पे गेस्ट पढ़ा रहा हूँ मैं। जेईसीआरसी में पढ़ा रहा हूँ, आर्या कॉलेज में पढ़ा रहा हूँ। इन कॉलेजेस में मैं पढ़ा रहा हूँ। देखिए, राइटर भी हूँ। 2008 से मैंने बुक्स वगैरह लिखना स्टार्ट कर दिया था। यूट्यूब पे सारे वीडियोस मिल जाएंगे, रिकॉर्डेड लाइव लेक्चर सब कुछ मिल जाएंगे। बस एक छोटा सा इंपॉर्टेंट डिस्कशन आप लोगों से करना था। एमबीए आप कहीं से भी करें, थोड़ा सा मेरे से आप डिस्कस करके अगर आप एमबीए ज्वाइन करते हैं तो आप थोड़ा सेफर मोड में रहेंगे। उसका रीजन बताता हूँ क्यों। क्योंकि मेरे को जो एक्सपीरियंस है ना 20 इयर्स का, एमबीए में प्लेसमेंट होगा कि नहीं होगा, कॉलेजेस कैसे पढ़ाते हैं, क्या उनका प्लेसमेंट स्ट्रक्चर है, क्या इंटरनल एक्सटर्नल इन्फॉर्मेशन है, मेन चीज अंदर क्या चल रहा है उनके। क्योंकि मैं तो रेगुलर कॉलेजेस में जा रहा हूँ तो मेरे को पता है कौन से कॉलेज में क्या चल रहा है। तो आप मेरे से थोड़ा सा एडवाइस लेके अगर आप एडमिशन लेते हैं तो थोड़ा सा सेफर जोन में रहेंगे। बाकी आपके डिस्टेंस के ऑनलाइन के एडमिशन, मणिपाल हो गया, एमएटी हो गया, ज्ञान विहार हो गया, तो यहाँ भी आपको अवेलेबल हो जाएंगे। तो आप अगर एडमिशन लेते हैं तो प्लीज मेरे से कंसल्ट करना। हो सकता है कि मैं आपको एक बेस्ट कॉलेज बता पाऊं और एक सेफर जोन में लेके जा पाऊं। क्योंकि एडमिशन लेने के बाद बच्चों को लगता है कि यार गलत जगह चले गए। ओके, बेस्ट ऑफ लक। मेरा नंबर आपके पास है। साथ के साथ अगर आपको कोई और क्वेरी चाहिए तो मेरे को व्हाट्सअप करें या कॉल कर सकते हैं। ओके, बेस्ट ऑफ लक।
You know that feeling when you're just doom scrolling at like 11 p.m.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
and you see a gadget you definitely do not need?
But you buy it anyway?
Right, and with literally one thumb tap, bam, it's on its way to your house. It's almost dangerous how frictionless it is,
Oh,
honestly.
it really is. That dopamine hit is just immediate.
We call it buying, but it feels more like just wishing for something and then having it magically appear on your porch 2 days later.
Exactly. But you know what's wild is that in the split second between your thumb hitting the glass and that order confirmed screen popping up, a massive, incredibly complex industrial machine just roared into life in the background.
All right.
We're talking about data traversing multiple continents, security protocols, handshaking, and banks reconciling ledgers.
All in like, what, a second?
Less. All in about 300 milliseconds.
That is just crazy. And that is exactly what we are unpacking today for you. We're doing a deep dive into a really comprehensive source we have today. It's titled Modern Electronic Payment Systems and E-Commerce Integration.
Which I know sounds a bit dry on the surface.
A little bit, yeah.
But once you actually get into it, you realize this is basically the blueprint for how the modern world actually functions.
It's the nervous system of the global economy.
That is the perfect way to put it. And our source material does a really great job of peeling back the layers.
Right, because it moves past the user experience, like what you and I actually see on our screens, and it dives straight into the infrastructure.
The plumbing.
The plumbing, exactly. The security fortresses and the data analytics that make all of this viable. So I think that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to deconstruct that invisible infrastructure for you.
We're going to look at the tech stack, the massive security wars being fought in the background every single day.
And how systems like India's UPI are honestly kind of embarrassing the legacy banking systems we still use in the West.
Oh, if that comparison is going to be really interesting when we get there.
Yep.
But we should probably start with the interface itself, right? The source kicks off with electronic payment processes, and it makes a really strong point that we are way past the era of just digitizing cards.
Yeah, for the longest time, online shopping just meant taking your physical plastic card out of your wallet and typing those numbers into a browser.
Which is exhausting.
It is. But the source argues that's actually a pretty archaic way to do things now.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's what designers call skeuomorphic design.
Skeuomorphic.
Yeah, meaning you take a physical object and you just force it onto a digital screen.
Like the old save icon being a floppy disk.
Exactly like that. But the research highlights this massive shift toward digital wallets and mobile payments, not just as a convenience thing, but as a fundamental architectural change.
Okay, so break that down a bit.
Well, when you use a digital wallet like Apple Pay or Google Pay, for example, you aren't just transmitting your card number. You're often using something called tokenization.
Let's pause on tokenization for a second, because the source specifically mentions it as a key advantage for wallets over raw card entry. My understanding is that when I use my wallet, the merchant never actually sees my real credit card number.
That is the critical distinction, yes. When you type those 16 digits into some random website, you are trusting that site to store that key to your bank account securely.
Which is terrifying when you think about it.
Right. But with a digital wallet, the system creates a unique one-time token for that specific transaction.
So a temporary code.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And if a hacker steals that token later on from the merchant's database, it's completely useless.
Because it already expired.
Exactly. It's just a wrapper around the transaction that becomes garbage data the second the purchase goes through.
So the comparative analysis in the text isn't just saying wallets are faster for the user. It's actually saying wallets are structurally more secure.
Speed is the hook, but security is the anchor. But the analysis also brings up the features and limitations of other methods too.
Like bank transfers.
Right? Which are low fee, but notoriously slow and clunky for the average user. And then, of course, you have cryptocurrencies.
The wild card.
The emerging wild card, as the text identifies it.
That section was super interesting to me because it didn't just focus on the typical Bitcoin volatility stuff you always hear about.
Yeah.
It actually talked about the utility of crypto in very specific contexts.
Right. It's so easy to get lost in the hype cycle. But the source focuses on the payment rail aspect.
The rails.
Yeah, the infrastructure.
Yeah.
If you are trying to send money across borders, traditional banking rails like SWIFT transfers, they can take days.
And cost a fortune in fees.
Exactly. But crypto, or specifically stablecoins, which are pegged to a fiat currency, they can settle in minutes for literally pennies.
The limitation, of course, being the complexity of it all.
Right. My grandma isn't going to manage a private crypto key just to buy her knitting supplies online.
No, definitely not yet anyway.
Right.
So we have the user side covered, the wallets, the tokens. But here's the part where the engineering really kicks in, the invisible handshake.
The API layer.
Yes, the source spends a lot of time on integration and APIs.
Because this is the true backbone of e-commerce. API stands for Application Programming Interface.
I feel like API is one of those terms business people throw around constantly without really knowing what it is. Like, hey, do you have an API for that?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge buzzword.
But the text breaks down just how messy this integration actually is in reality. It's not just plugging a cord into a socket.
Not at all. The best analogy is a restaurant.
Okay, let's hear it.
So you are the customer.
Yeah.
And the kitchen is the bank that's actually processing the money.
Okay.
The API is the waiter. You tell the waiter what you want. They write it down in a very specific format. They run into the kitchen, and they bring back the food.
Or the rejection slip if my card declines.
Exactly. If you're broke, the waiter brings you the bad news.
But here's the catch that the source points out. The kitchen in this scenario might actually be a bank running on mainframe systems from the 1980s.
Oh, yeah. And that is the massive headache of modern fintech. You have these sleek, beautiful, modern e-commerce sites sending data in modern formats.
Right, like JSON or whatever.
Yep. Trying to talk to banking core systems that are running on COBOL.
Which is ancient.
COBOL is a coding language that is literally older than I am. So the API has to act as this universal translator.
That sounds incredibly stressful.
It has to take that modern request, translate it into something the ancient bank computer understands, get the approval, translate it back, and serve it to the customer.
And it has to do all of that in milliseconds.
Milliseconds.
So what happens if that waiter trips?
The whole restaurant shuts down.
Wow.
The source heavily emphasizes integration challenges because, think about it, if an API goes down during Black Friday, you aren't just losing a few saves.
You're losing millions of dollars per minute.
Exactly. That's why the text mentions customization options. A massive retailer like Amazon, they build their own robust custom pipes.
Right, they don't rely on the same generic waiter that a small local Shopify store uses.
Exactly. Because at that scale, reliability is revenue.
That makes perfect sense. Now, moving up the chain a bit, once that data is actually flowing, the source introduces this concept of MIS.
Management Information Systems.
Yes, and I will be totally honest, my eyes kind of glazed over at the acronym at first.
It sounds intensely corporate, I know.
It really does. But the description in the text of what it actually does is pretty incredible.
Think of the MIS as the brain of the operation.
Okay.
If the API is the hands moving the money around the MIS, is the frontal lobe analyzing what it all actually means.
The source breaks it down to three things, right? Monitoring, analytics, and reporting.
Correct.
Now, the monitoring part seems pretty obvious to me, just making sure the payments are actually going through without errors.
Right, keeping the lights on.
But the analytics section, that is where the real power seems to be.
That is where the raw money turns into business intelligence. The source makes a fascinating point that payment data is some of the most honest data in the world.
Because people lie on surveys.
All the time.
Yeah.
But they do not lie with their wallets.
So true.
The MIS analyzes human behavior.
Give us a concrete example of what that looks like in practice. How does a business use that?
Okay, let's say the MIS for a delivery app notices a spike in comfort food purchases.
Like pizza and ice cream.
Exactly. It sees a spike in a very specific zip code every single time it rains.
Okay.
A smart system flags that correlation. Now, the business can automate a rainy day special email to go out to customers in that exact zip code the very moment the weather forecast changes.
So it moves from just counting the money to essentially predicting the future.
Precisely. And it's huge for inventory management, too. If the payment data shows that a certain demographic buys product A and product B together 90% of the time, the business knows to bundle them physically in the warehouse.
The MIS essentially turns the checkout terminal into a behavioral research lab.
That's exactly what it does.
But, and there is always a but, with this stuff collecting all of that highly specific data creates a massive target.
Oh, yeah. If you have the treasure, the pirates are going to come for it.
Which brings us to a huge section of our deep dive today, security measures.
The fortress.
And it has to be a fortress because, as the text points out, the pirates are using AI now, too.
It's an arms race.
The source lists the standard stuff first, right? SSL and encryption, which is basically the lock on the front door.
Yeah, SSL Secure Sockets Layer is like an armored tunnel.
Okay.
When your data leaves your phone, it enters this tunnel. Even if someone intercepts the data right in the middle, say you're on public Wi-Fi at a coffee shop.
Which is always a risk.
Exactly. If they grab the data, all they see is scrambled noise. They can't read your credit card number because they don't have the unique encryption key to unlock the tunnel at the receiving end.
So that protects the data while it's in transit.
Right.
But the source also talks a lot about identifying the actual person holding the phone. We're seeing a massive shift away from passwords and moving toward biometrics and 2FA.
Two-factor authentication. Passwords are dead. They just don't know it yet.
They really are.
They're just way too easy to steal or guess. The source emphasizes 2FA, which is something, like a PI plus something you have like your physical phone.
Right, that's the baseline standard now.
But the really cool stuff in the text, the cutting-edge stuff, is about fraud detection using behavioral biometrics.
Behavioral biometrics. So is that like the face scanning thing?
No, it's actually way subtler than that.
Mm-hmm.
The system analyzes how you interact with your device.
What do you mean how I interact?
Like, how fast do you typically type your address? What exact angle do you normally hold your phone at when you're browsing? Do you usually hesitate for a second before hitting the buy button?
Wait, really? It tracks that?
Yes, it does. Because a bot or a fraudster sitting in a different country using an automated script, they don't type like you.
That is wild.
They don't have your specific physical wobble when holding the device.
A wobble?
The wobble, exactly. The fraud detection engines described in the source are constantly building a very quiet profile of you that goes way beyond just your password.
So if a transaction looks perfectly correct on paper.
Right, the password matches the CVV matches.
But it just feels wrong to the system.
Exactly. Wrong typing cadence, wrong geographic location, wrong screen pressure. The MIS flags it instantly and blocks it.
I have to say that is both deeply reassuring and slightly terrifying.
It's the ultimate trade-off of the digital age.
It's like the system knows my physical habits better than I know myself.
We give up a certain level of privacy for that security. And for businesses, this level of security is entirely non-negotiable.
Right, they don't have a choice.
The source mentions regulatory frameworks like PCI DSS.
The payment card industry data security standard.
Exactly. And it's important to note that's not actually a government law. It's an industry mandate.
So the industry policing itself.
Right. If you as a merchant do not follow those strict rules, Visa and MasterCard will effectively just kick you out of the club.
And then you can't process payments at all.
You're out of business overnight.
So those are the strict rules of the road.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of different roads entirely, the source includes this totally fascinating case study on UPI.
The Unified Payments Interface in India.
Yes. I feel like we in the U.S. kind of live in a bubble with our credit cards and our Apple Pay.
We absolutely do.
The source paints UPI as a completely different animal altogether.
It is. And honestly, looking at the architecture, it's a superior animal in a lot of ways.
Really? How so?
Well, the source highlights UPI as a real-time payment system, but it's the underlying architecture that truly matters here.
Break that down for us.
In the U.S., we have what the industry calls walled gardens.
Okay.
If I have Venmo on my phone and you have Cash App on yours,
Yeah.
I can't just easily send you money.
Right. We both have to download the exact same app. We have to be in the same garden.
Exactly. Or you have to transfer your Venmo balance to your traditional bank,
Yeah.
wait a full business day, and then send it to my bank. It's ridiculous.
Lots of friction.
But UPI completely broke down those walls in India. It is an interoperable protocol. It connects the central banks directly to each other.
So how does that look for the actual user on the street?
It means I can use Google Pay. You can use a totally local Indian banking app, and I can just scan your QR code and send you money instantly.
Bank to bank.
Bank to bank in seconds. No middleman tech company holding the funds in escrow. No walled gardens.
The source mentions that this essentially democratized digital payments across India. How significant was that cultural shift?
It was seismic. In economics, we call it leapfrogging.
Leapfrogging, like skipping a step.
Exactly. In the U.S., we spent decades and billions of dollars building physical infrastructure for plastic credit cards.
Yeah.
Swipe machines, card readers, all of it.
Right.
So now we are kind of stuck trying to optimize that old legacy infrastructure.
Yeah.
But India historically had very low credit card penetration to begin with.
So they didn't have that legacy baggage.
Precisely.
Oh.
So when mobile phone data became incredibly cheap, they just leapfrogged the entire plastic card era completely.
Wow.
They went straight from a cash-heavy society to a mobile-first, real-time digital society.
That completely explains why the text says UPI is processing literally billions of transactions.
Yeah, it's used for absolutely everything. From buying a brand new car at a dealership to buying a cup of chai from a street vendor.
Because the friction of becoming a merchant is just gone.
Totally gone. You don't need a clunky $500 card terminal that requires a dedicated phone line. You literally just need a piece of paper with a QR code printed on it.
That is amazing. And the source discusses the future prospects of this model too, suggesting that other countries are looking closely at India's tech stack and trying to copy it.
Oh, everyone wants this now. Brazil has done something very similar with their system called PIX.
And what about the US?
The US is trying to build something similar right now with FedNow. But honestly, we are playing catch-up at this point.
It's kind of humbling to realize that the absolute cutting edge of tech isn't always sitting in Silicon Valley.
It's a global game now, for sure.
So looking ahead, we've got this crystal ball section at the very end of our source. What are the big future trends? We've got the classic buzzwords, right? Blockchain, AI. But practically speaking, how does the source say these technologies are going to actually change my daily life?
The most fascinating concept the source points to is something industry insiders are calling invisible payments.
Invisible. Like someone stealing my money in the dark.
No, not theft. Invisible as in total seamlessness. Think about the Uber experience for a second.
Okay.
You open the app, you get in the car, you ride to your destination, and you get out.
Right.
You never actually pause to pay.
True. The payment just sort of happens in the background while I'm walking away.
Exactly. The massive trend right now is trying to bring that exact Uber experience into the physical retail world. The source discusses biometric payments as the key to this, using your face or your palm print.
Oh, I've actually seen that at some Whole Foods stores near me. You just hover your hand over a little scanner at the register.
Yes, Amazon One.
Yeah.
That is the perfect example. Your literal physical hand is your wallet. The AI matches the unique vein pattern inside your palm to your stored credit card.
Which feels very sci-fi.
It does. But the source predicts a future where even the checkouts completely disappear. You will just walk into a grocery store, grab whatever you need off the shelf, and just walk out the front door.
No scanning at all.
None. Cameras and weight sensors track the physical items you pick up. AI manages your virtual cart in the cloud, and the payment is triggered automatically the second you cross the threshold of the door.
Invisible payments. That makes sense now. And that brings us back to the cross-border solutions the text mentioned earlier, this idea of a borderless world.
That is the ultimate holy grail for the financial sector. We touched on crypto earlier, but the source also alludes heavily to CBDCs.
Which stands for?
Central bank digital currencies.
Okay.
This is governments looking at crypto and saying, hey, we need to digitize our fiat currency to compete with this.
So digital dollars, digital euros.
Exactly. The ultimate goal is that I can send digital dollars to you while you're sitting in London, and you receive digital pounds instantly on your end.
With the conversion just happening magically in the background?
Programmatically in the cloud, with zero friction and near zero fees.
It really feels like we are rapidly moving toward a world where money is becoming less like physical cash and much more like just pure information.
That is honestly the perfect way to put it. Money is just data now. And because it's just data, it can be programmed.
Program money.
Yes. You can program money to only be spent on certain approved items, or you could program a digital stimulus check to automatically expire if it isn't spent after a certain date to force economic activity.
The possibilities there are pretty wild.
They are endless, really.
So let's try to bring this all back home. Today, we've covered the major shift from swiping plastic to secure digital tokens.
Right.
We looked at those complex API messengers that keep the entire system talking without crashing.
The waiters in our restaurants.
The waiters, exactly. We looked at the predictive brain of the MIS and the massive security fortress keeping the AI pirates out.
And we've seen how countries like India are completely rewriting the rule book on what national payment infrastructure should actually look like.
It's just so much more than a little beep at the coffee shop.
It really is. And, I actually want to leave you with one final thought based on that MIS section we were discussing earlier, the predictive analytics part.
Oh, go for it.
So we usually view our payment history as a basic record of the past, right?
Yeah.
Like a receipt saying, I bought this yesterday.
Right. It's looking backwards.
But as these MIS systems get smarter, as the AI gets vastly better at predicting our future needs based on mountains of historical data, the dynamic actually flips entirely.
What do you mean flips?
The system starts showing you things it mathematically knows you will buy before you even consciously realize you want them.
Like the rainy day pizza special we talked about, but for literally everything in my life.
Exactly, for everything. So at a certain point, you really have to ask yourself a question. Is the payment system just facilitating your choices, or is it effectively curating your reality? If the algorithm knows your deep spending habits better than your own spouse does, are you actually making a free, independent choice? Or are you just happily walking down the exact path that the data paved for you?
That is a heavy thought. The idea that my credit card history is basically writing my future autobiography for me.
Money makes the world go round, but the data determines exactly which direction it spins.
Well, on that deeply existential note, I think we are going to wrap it up for today. I am definitely going to look at that little card reader very differently next time I buy a coffee. Thank you so much for guiding us through this invisible world.
Oh, my pleasure. It's such a fascinating space to watch evolve.
It really is. And thank you to everyone listening. You've just completed another deep dive. We will catch you on the next one.